I'm Stephanie Boozer with CUGC HQ and part of the CUGC Women in Tech program. And I'm really excited to welcome you to today's Fireside chat with Esther Barthel and Jenna Hicks. Also want to really quickly give a big shout out to Liquidware for sponsoring the CUGC Women in Tech program. It's so nice to have a champion of the program out in the community that helps support our goals of providing mentorships for women in EUC and IT, trying to conquer some professional and technical goals that they set. And we can talk more about the Women in Tech program a little bit later, but just wanted to make sure we get that thank you in there to Liquidware. So thank you. All right, I am going to introduce Jenna Hicks. She is going to be leading this conversation today. Jenna has over 20 years of technical sales experience. She began her career when the telecom and datacom industry was undergoing deregulation, and she realized pretty quickly that the fast-paced change in highly technical industries was where she wanted to focus her efforts. So for the past 14 years, Jenna has been involved with the growth and advancement of Liquidware to one of the most prominent end-user computing companies in the space. Her most recent leadership role is Vice President of Client Engagement, and that gives her the opportunity to work directly with the largest and most complex organizations in the country, as well as provide thought leadership to Liquidware's executive team to identify opportunities for innovation and growth that takes a client-first approach. She lives with her family in Atlanta, where it's evidently quite chilly today.
It is.
She loves to travel, and she loves college football. And I think it's Go Clemson college football. Am I right?
It usually is, but not really this season. We're not doing so well this year. But I appreciate that intro, and more importantly, really appreciate you and Citrix Women in Technology hosting this and allowing me to be a part of this important conversation today. As you mentioned, Liquidware is a really proud supporter and ally in the community. I feel really fortunate to work for a company that does prioritize diversity in technology. So everyone, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for joining us. We're really just going to have a casual conversation today with a few goals in mind. We really want to speak to the women on the line today, tell you how Esther Barthel and I, what our experience is like in women in technology, how we got to where we are. More importantly, we want to give you some resources and some support to help you reach your professional goals. And then lastly, I know we've got some allies on the line. I see several guys who have raised their hand and already said good morning. We want to also share with the allies on the call ways that they can support women in technology and diversity in technology in general. So again, thank you so much for the time today. So what we're going to do, I'm going to introduce Esther, although she doesn't need much introduction, really. I'm going to go over a few stats. They're probably not a surprise to most of us, but I think it's important to understand where we are now, so we have a plan in place to where we want to go. We're going to talk a little bit about experiences. Then we're going to talk about ways and resources to support those on the line. Then we're going to talk about how you can get more involved, either in being a mentor, getting mentorship if you have some goals that you need help reaching. And then we're going to talk about some exciting changes within the Citrix user group community. So with that, like I said, Esther doesn't need much of an introduction, but let me just tell you a little bit about Esther. Esther has a master's degree in computer science. She has not one, not two, not even three, but 7 Microsoft MVP designations. She also has been named a Citrix CTP for 9 years in a row. And I understand she's anxiously awaiting that 10th year. Good for you. Esther has had the pleasure of working with hundreds of clients on thousands of projects on everything from architecting, back-end server infrastructure, all the way through ensuring a high degree of employee digital satisfaction and user experience. So Esther, good morning. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm just super excited that um, you are enabling us again to have an extra voice out there and to really promote how we are eager to support other women in tech to become more visible in the community. So thank
Wonderful.
you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me talk about some stats. And again, probably not a surprise to many of you, but it's really important to go over these. Um, Currently, only a quarter of the STEM workforce is occupied by women. So only about 25 to 28% of technology jobs are held by women. Of all of the bachelor in computer information sciences, only 16% are earned by women. Um, it's not a secret that in 2022 and 2023, there have been some large technology layoffs. Unfortunately, 69.2% of those layoffs have been women. If we distill these numbers down even further, most of us on the call today, if not all of us, focus on end user computing. If we distill those numbers down even further, it's even a bleaker picture. Of all the Citrix CTPs, less than 5% are women. 3 of 61. I think we have at least 2 of them on the line today, maybe all 3. Thank you for that, ladies. And at VMware, the picture isn't any different. 1.5% of the VMware EUC experts are women. One actually.
I
Um,
dropped out of that program, so yeah, I'm
well,
not
it could have been
helping the
2,
stats
Esther.
either.
Esther, it could have been 2. You could have raised those numbers. But all of that to say, this isn't going to be a Debbie Downer kind of webinar. But again, it's really important to understand where we are now, to understand the steps we need to take to increase these numbers in the future. So Esther, as we get started here, can you tell me a little bit about your journey into the field of technology?
Yeah. So I guess I was very fortunate that my dad was already working in an IT focused role at a Dutch firm. And we had this thing called a personal computer at home. Um, and unfortunately, for those that are not of my generation, that wasn't like a cool small device with a huge flat screen. It was like a huge device with a very small but thick screen with only green letters on a black background. So it's not like that was drawing me in, but still, I I I was able to use it for like gaming purposes, which wasn't graphically like interesting either or appealing, but it was most text based, like adventures. So you're standing in front of a door. What you're gonna do now? Pick left or right, and then you could only enter left, and then the story would continue. But still, it really intrigued me that that was a very powerful machine that could be of great use in any future endeavors that I was going to take. So I figured out that if I would start a study in computer science, then I would definitely learn how to use that machine to my advantage and find great usage for other users as well.
Yeah.
So I basically thought that I would learn how to become a programmer. Didn't get really successful with that. So even though I finished my master's, I just entered the workforce as a web design builder, where I was hoping that I didn't have to program a lot, and scripting was kind of still new to me. But I quickly discovered that I had a natural eagerness to learn and to build stuff, and an eager interest in what the impact was of what I was doing with the scripting on the entire infrastructure and ecosystem. So that led me through all kinds of different roles like server administrator, um, I even did build physical networks on industrial terrain. Um, and then at some point I had to specialize. So I figured there's only one specialism right now that allows me to venture across all these different topics within IT. So I picked end user computing because it felt like that allowed me to still satisfy my curiosity in understanding applications, understanding end user devices, understanding networks and gateways and data centers. So yeah, that's basically how it all got started and how I ended up here.
Wonderful. Yeah, we always hear that seeing representation is really important for people to be able to see themselves in a role. But even more important than that is just having an example or a mentor. And it seems like, in this case, your father was your example or your mentor to get you interested in technology.
Yes, definitely.
Once you enter technology, can you tell me a little bit about the mentorship or the support programs that were available to you and your experiences with those?
Okay, so now I have to age myself. Basically, I finished my master's in '97. So that's before Generation Z basically came to life. And back then, I didn't have a lot of role models or mentoring programs that I knew of that I could easily reach out to. So for me, it just started with finding my own way until basically, I think around 2003, I really invested in becoming end user computing or Citrix specialist. And by then, I think my advantage was that there's a huge, very active community, Citrix focused community, back then already on the internet. So I quickly learned of different Citrix technology professionals that were actively sharing their knowledge. And I also learned that there were some Dutch people involved in those programs as well. And one of them was Ruben Spruit. Back then, he was still an active CTP. So I just gathered all the energy and excitement and motivation that I could find within myself, picked up the phone, um, and then just called him because somehow I figured out what his phone number was. And I just asked him for some advice. Basically, I just asked him, well, I know you've become very successful in the community, and I want to understand what your career path was and see if there are some components or some um, exciting events that I can adapt into my own style and my own way of finding my career path. And I was very pleasantly surprised that he took all the time we needed for that conversation and answered very patiently all my questions. And so basically, he became my first, next to my dad, my first role model within the Citrix community. And he really boosted my career. So yeah, I'm still very thankful that he's still actively sharing and being an ally for all of us.
Wonderful. In addition to finding a mentor, finding a role model, what advice would you give to young women who are looking to enter a technology field?
First of all, don't be scared of all the other oldies, so to speak, or the seniors within our field. I think now, with the quick pace of technology changing, it doesn't really matter how much experience and knowledge we all have and carry on as we venture these new technologies and usabilities of the like artificial intelligence. That's like a whole new ball game where we at least I feel like I need to unlearn a lot of basic assumptions that I'm bringing to the table based on all my experience. So I do think that right now it's a very exciting time where experience isn't that important anymore. It's more the eagerness of finding topics that you get excited about, and then get committed. And I think by now the community has also learned to be more open and welcoming to anyone that's new, and helping them find their own place within our community and their own way of sharing and contributing and collaborating.
In addition to being fearless, what do you think are some important skills um, that young women need to be successful?
That's a tough one, because, well, I know that I struggled at the beginning of my career as well, because it feels sometimes very overwhelming to be the odd one out in at events or at meetups, even in smaller gatherings, because it always, to me, it felt a lot like everyone knows who I am, but I have no clue who half the people in the room are, because I have a harder time uh, remembering all the different faces and experiences that I'm having and encounters. Um, so yeah, I think it's not just being fearless, but it's being curious, and please do not think that anyone that is a well-known person within our community, or someone that you look up to, that also means that they're not eager to share their knowledge and experience. Because I, for one, am each and every time someone reaches out to me through LinkedIn, for instance, I'm so eager to help them and to make sure that they understand that they can ask me anything and they can bother me with any questions they might have, and I will go out of my way to help them and to be a good ally and sponsor. And I think we are very easy in making the assumption that people are too busy to be an ally or to be a sponsor. I had the same with not even bringing it up in conversations. And it took me a long time, basically up to like a couple of years ago, to have that moment where I realized even the guys in the CTP program are so eager to be an ally, they just do not know where to start either. So I think we're all at the same level. We're all trying to figure out how to get the collaboration and communication flows going, because we're all kind of like nerdish in our own ways, and um, have trouble being really social and outgoing, where some of us are just more happy just typing out code or scripting or just in their own personal bubble, to be really honest.
Yeah, I've often heard it described this way, in being a mentor and being an ally for someone trying to start out their career. Always take somebody up on the elevator with you, but don't forget to send the elevator back down. So we usually understand the part about take someone up on the elevator with you, but
Yes.
we often forget to send the elevator back down for the next generation. So that's really important.
Yeah, and I
Shifting.
think that's also one of the reasons why I joined up with Joe Harder and Teresa Miller and Stephanie Boser as well, to create that Women in Tech mentorship program, because we did realize that we had to find a way to open and welcome any woman in tech that wanted to build a network and to get connected.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears for just a minute and talk about ways that educational institutions can encourage more women to get involved in STEM careers. You heard the stat earlier that only 16% of Bachelor of Computer Information Systems are held or earned by women. What can
Yes.
educational institutions do, in your opinion?
Well, I had to give it some thought last year, because I also joined a webinar on International Women's Day hosted by Shell about the Next Explorers, or Nexplorers as they call them, which are educational programs in underrepresented countries even, where they create like almost contests of different teams to solve like daily problems with technology and technology driven focus, which really made me think again about our education system. And it is very male focused, which makes sense because most of the educators are men. But that also means that a lot of the examples that they give are from their viewpoints and their experiences, which doesn't always match our own viewpoints and our curiosity. So I think if from an educational perspective, we find better ways than the attempt that they did when I was doing my master's, where each time the books were referring or given an example of he did this or that, then it became he/she, which is very annoying to read. So you have to find a different way to make it still readable, so you digest the information that you need to learn. But yeah, if you have more compelling examples of different people that make up the current workforce, then I think it will um, well, it will spark more people to get invested and to become curious about whether or not technology also is there for them. And I think once you have that connection, you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is something that I can use, or that I would love to learn more of. Then you have that natural curiosity to really dive into the technology and start building some cool solutions.
Yeah, I think it's important not just to have often exposure or frequent exposure but to have early exposure. I know here in Atlanta, the Women in Technology, WIT for short here, it's a really strong community, and they've got multiple programs for very young girls, as young as elementary school, called Girls That Code, and then it builds from there. So I think it's important not just to have consistent exposure, but to have early exposure. And DJ brings up a really good point in the chat. I think it's also important for us to realize there are many paths to get to technology.
Yes.
DJ says skip the degree altogether. Why
Yeah,
not?
but that diminishes all the work and effort that I put into it to actually get a degree. So I do understand that should not be like the baseline for a lot of functions and for hiring people, whether or not they have a degree. But please don't make me feel like I wasted a lot of years of my life trying to chase that degree, because
Well,
for me it did feel like my ticket into the technology world.
and that worked for you, right? I mean, it worked for you, and look where you are today. But with people having different goals, another program that WIT here in Atlanta offers is a single mothers program. It is
Nice.
it's a 3-month cybersecurity intensive course. 3 months, and these
Yep.
women change the trajectory of their entire life. So it really depends on what your goals are, right? You
Sure.
had pretty broad
Oh
strategic
yeah, I love everything in
goals.
technology. So for me, it's more like, oh, do I really have to make a choice? Because I have anxieties to make the wrong choice.
Well, and you
So
proved you don't have to make the choice, right? You
right.
can kind of generalize and be a more strategic partner for your clients, but others may want to really specialize and do a 3 to 12 month intensive course and focus on one area. So I think that's important to know, that there are different paths for women
Yes.
to get there, because not one path might not work for every person. So how can companies and organizations better support women that are already in technology to continue setting new goals and reaching those professional goals?
Well, yeah. So from a personal perspective, I sometimes find it hard that the focus is on the gender and not just on the fact that you're passionate about IT. And I think that is something that also needs to change in the mindset of a lot of companies, because even though they are eager to get to support more women in tech and to make sure that the work environment is very open and transparent on or very inclusive to get the women to stay actively contributing to the teams and collaboration. I do believe that it shouldn't always have to be mentioned that it's for women in tech. It should be a more broader goal to just say we want to create a work environment where each and every individual feels welcomed and feels safe to just speak up and share their visions and their ideas that they have. So we're all focused on like the team effort to create a solution that works best for our end users. And I think nowadays, especially with the speed of progress of technology, it's more about the ability to be open-minded and to listen to other people's ideas that help you think out of the box, because we're all very limited to our own world of reference or our own viewpoints based on experience and where we come from. So for me, it feels like if the message is changed a bit and it's not about my gender, but it's about my passion and the fact that I want to feel safe and feel feel like I'm appreciated at work, then I think it's more golden and more successful. Because for me, at least, a lot of these more women in tech focus programs feel like a marketing checkbox. And if you get involved with that in the back of your mind, then you're not fully committed because you feel like, well, it's their gain, but where's the win for me? So that was a very personal rant. Sorry.
Oh, no, no. Good insight. So we talked about how educational institutions can support more diversity in technology. We talked
Yes.
about how organizations, corporate organizations and entities can. How can we best support each other?
But well, in my case, by not always trying to get the best answer out fastest, but to really take the time to listen to someone else and to ask them very explicitly. So, what do you think? What's your view on this? And to give them the opportunity to contribute. Because I have learned by now, and it took me a while, I've learned by now that even though I bring a lot of experience to the table, I still can learn from anyone that just came from school and was educated better in the latest technologies and the latest developments and focus points than that 25 years of experience that might even um, help me introduce like old ideas that do not work anymore because the entire landscape or the entire infrastructure changed. So yeah, I'm eager to learn from others. And I think that should be what teamwork and collaboration is all about, to have that eagerness to learn from each other.
So, in addition to organizations like Citrix, Women in Technology, the local WIT organizations that are geographically dispersed, what other organizations exist today that you would refer folks on the call or folks that listen to the recording afterwards get involved with?
Well, from an international point of view, because of course, I started more with the global programs like the CTP program and the MVP program, but that has a very global viewpoint. So that means that I would normally advise to at least sign up for the Citrix user group community Women in Tech program, because that will definitely help you build your network. But that's more, from my point of view, a global perspective. I'm now also looking more for more local groups that I can join. So I'm much more invested in trying to figure out what meetup sessions are very nearby my hometown, which is a challenge on its own, because I live in the Netherlands, and it's like anything is reachable within 2 hours. The entire country is reachable within 2 hours from my hometown. So that still gives me way too much choices. And then the whole stress to make the wrong choice comes along again. But yeah, if you're looking at the meetups, and just go to them, because each and every meetup usually is started from the whole idea of sharing knowledge and sharing a common passion or a common interest. So everyone usually at a meetup is not just there to send and to show off all they know, but they're eager to learn from others and their experiences.
Absolutely. I know we have some CUGC regional leaders on the call today, and that's
Yes.
a really great way to share ideas, to get involved, and meet your colleagues and make them more than just colleagues, and kind of lean on each other.
Yeah, and so even to promote the local initiatives, very recently I went out of my way to meet a mentee of myself in person in London. So I just flew out to the EUC forum, or the Citrix user group UK chapter, and decided to just combine meeting her in person with the opportunity to introduce her to a very local network of like-minded geeks, so to speak.
Wonderful. And lastly, you've made yourself a prominent figure in the Citrix EUC community.
Yes.
What are the steps that other women, other allies can take to make themselves have a prominent position or become a leader in the community?
Wow. First of all, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to introduce you to everyone I know, so that they know that you are out there and eager to take on that. I don't want to call it a challenge, but to be a role model for others. If you have that drive, please feel free to reach out to me or Stephanie Bozer, and just let us know that you want to get actively involved, because we're always looking for new people that want to help us out, so to speak. Because the small print with my outgoing being visible is that I basically was challenged by one of the CTPs before I entered the program to really think about what the impact would be if I joined the program, and if I wanted to do that for personal motivations, or if I was ready to step up and become that role model. And he made me realize that that is something that you do not take very lightly, and that you have to really become more conscious of how you present yourself, because it's not just you, it's also showing the next generation that anything is possible if you dream big.
Absolutely. Justin in the chat has a really important question. He said, as a male CUGC leader, how can he specifically encourage more women to get involved and come to events?
Wow. That's an awesome question, and that also shows how eager the allies are out there if we just ask them for help. Um, so I find it hard to basically make assumptions of what other women in tech need to feel comfortable at the events. I think it just starts by being a buddy to them, and to that's one of the things that I learned at Toastmasters, for instance, that with each and every guest that comes in, you have one member guide them through the evening for that entire evening. So if they have any questions on what's going on, then you can instantly answer those questions for them, and help them understand the process or the communications. And I think one of the things that I did was to make sure that I was present at an event for my mentee to enter, and to not feel like I'm the only person that's new here, and I need to find my way, but to have like that buddy that introduces you and takes you into the different conversations that take place. I think that already makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And Justin, I don't know what geography you lead, but I would also say reach out to Stephanie, Esther, or myself, and we may be able to put you in touch with a female leader in your area, and maybe just having another voice and talking with her directly may give you some ideas. But again, thanks so much for your question. So Esther and I had a bet on if we were going to go over time here. And we both won because we both thought we would. So thank you for hanging around a little bit longer.
Yes.
As we wrap up today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of the main goal of Citrix Women in Technology, and that is to provide mentorship at any level of your career. And also, so we need mentors. All of that to say, we need mentors. If you think, whether you're male or female, if you think you could be a mentor to someone, reach out to Stephanie. That's a great way to get involved. And if you or a colleague you work with would be interested in having a mentor, if they show great promise, if they are at a place in their career where they kind of feel stuck and they can't get to the next level, reach out, because that's the entire purpose of the Citrix Women in Tech program, is to link mentors up with mentees for, a combined great experience overall. So we're going to put up Esther's contact information, Stephanie's contact information, and my contact information. I really encourage you to reach out to us. I'm local to Atlanta, so if anybody on the call is local to Atlanta, I'd love to put you in contact with some local resources. And also, follow the CUGC Women in Tech program. Visit that website. Follow them on all the socials. There's some really exciting things coming out in 2024.
Yes.
If you remember earlier in the call, I went over some stats. If you break it down into women of color stats or LGBTQ stats, they are even more shocking. So I'm really excited that Citrix is going to be announcing soon some expansions to this program to get more involved. I'm not going to go into details now. I'll save that announcement and for the Citrix team in general. But now's the time to get involved and follow this great organization, because big things are happening where more people can get involved.
Yes, and I want to address Chantel's question in regards to the application form. We used to have an application form being out there, I think, in the month of October. But because we want to evolve the program better and be better allies and sponsors, we also decided to make sure that that form should be up all year around. So if that's not the case and you can't find the form, then just send lots and lots of spam to Stephanie and we'll make it happen.
And we'll actually do you one better, Chantel. Stephanie will reach out to you after this call and get you an application. Thanks for bringing that up. So Stephanie, thank you again for hosting this, for leading Citrix Women in Technology. Thank you for letting Liquidware be involved. And Esther, thank you very much for all of your insight, for sharing your experience and your thoughts with us. I think this is a conversation that we're just scratching the surface on. And we kind of were hoping that this conversation would lead to maybe a round of webinars or a series of webinars. So the involvement in the chat has been amazing.
Yes.
So thank you all for your time. We know time is the most precious commodity we have these days. So thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for your input. And we really look forward to everyone getting involved in the Citrix Women in Tech program.
And to continue the conversation in any settings that we can come up with.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks. Appreciate y'all. Bye.
Bye.